the Texas Stingray. This wooden roller coaster was built to be the tallest in Texas, and to fill the hole left by the RMC conversion of the Rattler for those loving wooden roller coasters and living in San Antonio. However, this coaster seems to do a bit of everything while doing nothing well. It left me disappointed after my initial rides. But it has grown on me over the years, so just how good is the Texas Stingray? Find out in this review. The history of the tallest wooden roller coaster in Texas features storied names. The Texas Giant took this title when it was built as the tallest wooden roller coaster in the world, standing 143 feet with a 137-foot drop. 2 years later, the Rattler opened standing 179 feet tall, with a 166-foot drop. This was reprofiled 2 years later to have only a 124-foot drop, losing the drop record, but it did still technically hold the height record with its distance off the ground. With the RMC conversion of Texas Giant and the Rattler, Texas lost its star wooden coasters, and Boardwalk Bullet backed into being the tallest wooden coaster in Texas, with only 2 wooden coasters remaining. Thus, when building Texas Stingray, SeaWorld could easily go for this marketing claim, though Switchback is the steepest wooden coaster in the world, so there was no hope of the Texas Stingray catching that record. Great Coasters International offers modern thrill wood coasters that normally get praised for their airtime. Though with the restraints of their trains, I'm just not a huge fan. White Lightning at Fun Spot Orlando offers nice pops with its double up and double down, and out and back layout. Roaring Timbers at SeaWorld Hong offers a great course, with airtime, particularly the 4 bunny hills towards the end of the ride. Texas Stingray, though, offers a different type of airtime that is just harder for me to enjoy. The station is pretty simple, but offers a wooden and Texan vibe. The queue line does have some twisted paths, and most days you'll need to cut over through the quick queue line, as there won't be much of a line, though this is not obviously stated for guests to understand. The line for this coaster seems to be fairly short most days, as it is either too big for those afraid of coasters, or just does not seem to entice thrill seekers who visit this park. It is also located in a far corner of the park, so that could contribute to its low popularity. It will likely build up a line after nearby shows, particularly Orca Encounter, let out. But if you run here from Orca Encounter, you can probably get a lap or even 2 before the crowds reach you. The Platinum Reserve seating for Orca Encounter comes in clutch for this. Like most SeaWorld San Antonio coasters, Texas Stingray will likely run just 1 train, though they actually do not seem to be opposed to running 2 trains on busier days, or if the line just gets backed up for a delay. I waited about 20 minutes for a ride one day when it was running 2 trains, went to Orca Encounter, then came back to find the queue line empty with it only running 1 train again. So I guess they will add or remove trains more than one might normally see on a coaster. Despite the massive queue line, I've only ever seen it backed up to the curve by the first drop, so I really have no idea why they have all those switchbacks. As for seat placement, I prefer the front row. I've ridden this coaster many times in the very back, assuming that I wanted to maximize that drop on an otherwise mediocre coaster. But my more recent front row rides show that the front of the train does actually help as you are pushed through various elements, especially with a full train. The back will feel sluggish over some of the various elements, as you just don't have the speed to make some of them pop, though anywhere near the front will offer the better ride, so you don't have to wait specifically for the front row, though like the Steel Eel, people will tend to front load this coaster even when it's slow, so it can be difficult to sit further up in the train. The larger issue with this coaster, and Great Coaster International coasters in general, is those restraints. Not only are these restrictive, causing larger guests to be unable to ride, but they can be tight, restricting any airtime that you could receive from this coaster. It took until my 10th visit to SeaWorld San Antonio to realize that I could get a slightly looser restraint on these rides, as I wasn't concerned or trying to at first. And I just naturally got a really loose ride that was actually really good. I'm not a huge fan of advocating to try and make your restraint slightly looser, as it is against amusement park rules, but I will slouch slightly on this coaster to try and give myself a little bit of room with the restraint. And then of course hold up my restraint for the course of the ride if it is slightly loose to make sure that it doesn't come down even more. There is not a dip to push the restraint down more, like on the pre-lift of White Lightning, but the forces can naturally push the restraint down throughout the course of the wild ride. With how restrictive the restraints are, this still is not going to be a whole lot of room. And there's no guarantee that the ride operators won't staple you and push the restraint in all the way, like I'm pretty sure they are supposed to actually do. Normally, this stinks on a coaster, but doesn't change the ride too much. But with a tight restraint here, you're likely not going to feel any airtime, or at least for me, I don't. After a brief pre-lift turn, you climb up the lift hill to reach a height of 96 feet, which only ties Boardwalk Bullet, to prepare you for the 100-foot drop, which just edges out Boardwalk Bullet's 92-foot drop. For the tallest on a wooden roller coaster in Texas. And man, was that first drop a letdown. I'm not a huge seeker of that drop feeling on hills, but this first drop, at least the first time I went on it, felt kind of like a kiddie coaster. It made me long for that drop feeling of switchback. Now, after many re-rides, there is an ability to capture some drop feeling on this coaster, especially if you sit in the back of the train instead of the front. This drop also gets better with re-rides overall, unlike many that seem to diminish with multiple rides. So it is not nearly as bad as I initially thought it was. Probably close to decent, but not a great coaster drop. Then you get thrown into the heart of this coaster. The first element here is a large turning hill, which is taken a bit too slowly to offer airtime or forces over it, though you can get a small pop with a loose restraint, and a faint bit of a drop feeling coming off of it. The nature of this coaster is to imitate the way that a stingray flaps its wings. So you will get some shuffling back and forth in your seat as you are laterally tossed side to side in your cars, which is just a different feeling than you'll find on most roller coasters. You also have small but strong pops up out of your seat when you hit various points throughout the layout. Both of these unique airtime moments, again, need a looser restraint for you to really appreciate them, as a tighter restraint just makes you feel jostled around at best. After that first large hill, you climb up into a large turnaround. This one does offer some nice shuffling, but mainly just has some minor laterals. This is the better of the two large hills on this coaster with its forces. Then you enter the rest of the coaster, which mainly has small hills and turns. There's a small airtime pop as you go up a hill into a quick turn left. This also shifts your direction slightly, so it's your first strong taste of these small airtime pops combined with a lateral side-to-side shuffle. You then navigate a turn that did give me decent laterals on my most recent rides. You sway back to going straight from the turn for a bunny hill that gives a decent quick airtime pop before swaying back out into the turn. This sequence does more for the back and forth shuffling than true airtime, and then this is followed by a turn that leads into a large S-bend with a bunny hill in the middle. This way into and out of the hill, combined with the large turns, allows for the back and forth shuffling to continue to an excellent degree. This is kind of the staple of what this ride is going for. Then there's a slightly larger bunny hill that gives the whole train a nice pop before a sharp turn left. This enters a section with various small bunny hills and turns, as you'll have 4 bunny hills combined with various turns in between. The first offers the strongest pop of airtime, and the next 2 are a bit elongated, so they only provide a more mild pop. The last drops you down into the tunnel, which gives feels of riding the original Rattler. There is a sharp turn inside the tunnel, but it really doesn't do a lot. The final few bunny hills are smaller, so they just jostle the train around instead of offering any type of standout moment, before returning to the station and ending your rather wild ride. Overall, how good is the Texas Stingray? That's a tough question, as there are parts of me that do not like this coaster, as it just doesn't do too much for me. And there are other parts of me that really have enjoyed the unique, shuffling airtime, especially when you're pushed through some of the elements in the front of the train. However, it doesn't really have any standout elements, and is largely about strong, non-stop pacing throughout the layout, with a gimmick that plays well for smaller elements with speed. I placed Texas Stingray right above Vortex at Siam Amazing Park, which is one of my favorite inverted coasters out there, as it rattles me around in all the right ways while offering a nice drop and other enjoyable elements. I placed Texas Stingray right below Mr. Freeze Six Flags Over Texas. With its high intensity, especially when the trains are facing forwards to start, Mr. Freeze is fun, but can really beat me up. Its vertical spike, while beautiful and intimidating, also does very little for me, which holds it back as well. Others will place Texas Stingray even higher, if they can enjoy the unique airtime that this wooden coaster offers. But for me, it's enjoyable, just not super special. Though it is warming on me with multiple re-rides, so it always has a chance to continue to climb in my overall rankings. How much do you like the Texas Stingray? Have you found ways to be able to ride it to get good airtime? Let me know. And as always, Kapun Krap.
Was it recording?